So we are officially about halfway through the 2025 NFL season, which means mock draft season is on the horizon. And I will tell you, as a Miami Dolphins fan, I've been looking at mock drafts since really like week 1 after we got destroyed by the Colts, and it's been kind of fun to see some of the top prospects playing college football and get excited for who could potentially be joining my team in just a few months. But in the past, I usually do my first mock draft mid-season. We've reached that point. So today, that is exactly what we're doing. With the first overall pick, the New Orleans Saints, I think they are going to go quarterback. And I think the consensus top quarterback currently is Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. He's kind of your prototypical player nowadays. He's tall, over 6'4". I think maybe even 6'5". He's got a really good arm. I would say he has some decent mobility. Not the most athletic guy. He's not Josh Allen running around, but he's got some decent mobility, good size, good arm, just a pretty good prospect overall. I don't think he's like in recent years like a Drake May level prospect or like a Caleb Williams type of prospect coming out, but he's in that Cam Ward kind of range. I think that's where I would kind of put him. And the Saints, they have Spencer Rattler. They spent a top 50 pick on Tyler Shuck, which I really made fun of at the time because I just saw no rationale to draft Shuck, who's a 26-year-old quarterback, that early. But you know what? The Saints did it. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. I think they probably have a 40-50% chance around there to get the number 1 overall pick. It's going to be close between them, the Titans, and the Jets, in my opinion. I think that's the running for the first overall pick and probably going to be the top 3. But the Tennessee Titans with the number 2 overall pick, I could see this as a trade down spot with a quarterback needy team. Maybe somebody like the Browns or Raiders want to move up and get the second quarterback off the board. But in the midseason mock, we're not going to do trades yet. I think that's something that we kind of sense and get a better understanding of later in the draft process. So I think the Titans are going to stick here and pick. I think you got to go Ruben Bain Jr. from Miami, who I think is the best edge defender in this draft. He's got good size. He can win with power and speed off the edge. He just seems like he's going to be a really good player at the next level. And we know how valuable edge defenders are, pass rushers are in the current day NFL when passing the football is such a big part of the game. Tennessee does have so many flaws. They could go out and get a receiver, but why would you take like a Jordan Tyson number 2 overall? No disrespect to him, but I'm not taking a receiver that early unless he's like a Julio Jones, Jamar Chase type of prospect, and I just don't think Tyson is on that level. So I think Ruben Bain makes a lot of sense, just kind of going BPA for the Titans if they don't consider a trade down. Now the New York Jets at number 3, another team when the draft comes around, I do think, it might sound kind of crazy, but I do think they could be a team that we see also want to trade down. But even then, I don't really know how many teams are going to want to try and move up in this draft. I feel like in recent memory, teams have been more hesitant to do so. And this draft's kind of weird. Like, I don't think there's a ton of blue chip elite type of talent outside of a few players atop the board. In the quarterback class, there's some good prospects, but nothing really special. It's just kind of a weird class. I mean, some of these guys, you went into the season really high on them, like Peter Woods and TJ Parker of Clemson, and their defense is kind of fallen off a cliff. So while they're still good prospects, they're probably not as elite as we originally thought heading into the season. So I just don't know if teams around like the 10th pick or in the teens are going to be willing to pay the price to move up into the top 3 or 5 to get some of these prospects, because I don't really know the talent discrepancy from some of these guys projected to go this early and some of the guys you can kind of get in the middle of the first round, which I think is interesting. So I think the Jets with 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years, I could see them maybe punting on quarterback until 2027 and really loading up to get the top guy in that draft. But I also think with their quarterback situation with Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor, they just need somebody to kind of shell out hope. And I think Dante Moore from Oregon makes a lot of sense in New York. He's a guy that's really emerged on the scene this year. Really the first time we've seen him start like an entire season. He originally started, I believe, at UCLA, transferred to Oregon, sat behind Dylan Gabriel last season, got an opportunity to start, and he's been really good. I kind of view him like a CJ Stroud kind of player where he's got a good arm, he's got good mobility, but it's nothing like special or off the charts. I don't know if Moore can ever be like a top 8 or top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Can he be a top 10 guy, a top 12 guy? I think for sure. I just don't know if his ceiling is like one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. Well, let me know in the comment section below if you disagree with that. Now, the Miami Dolphins at number 4, I really wish we could take a quarterback this year. I'm kind of ready to move off of Tua Tagovailoa and just get a new, fresh face to kind of breathe some light into our organization. But I just don't think there's anybody I really want to take here. I'm not a huge fan of Dante Moore, like I just said. I really want to take somebody that has a sky-high ceiling and can be one of those elite quarterbacks in the league. So I don't think I'd want to take Dante Moore top 5 in the draft. I don't think I want to take another Alabama QB like Ty Simpson, although he's been great this year. I don't know. I kind of want to go in a different direction. I don't think he's a guy either that has the tools to go very early in the draft. I think Mendoza is really the only quarterback I would feel comfortable personally taking inside the top 10 of this draft, and he's just going to go number 1 overall. I don't think the Dolphins will have that pick. I think Lenora Sellers is going to be somebody that goes back to school. It seems like all the reports and everything that I hear in the media is that he's going to go back to college, transfer to another school that has a better support system, and then hopefully be like a top 5 pick in next year's draft. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. But if you're the Dolphins, you go BPA here. Caleb Downs makes sense. Peter Woods makes sense. I think Arvell Reese is another guy that's really helped out his stock a lot this season. I don't know if I would love taking a safety top 5 in the draft. I know Caleb Downs is like a generational type player, but the value of taking a safety number 4 overall, I just don't really think is there. And Peter Woods, he could be a great addition as well, although he hasn't really been as good as he was last year for Clemson. But the Dolphins did just spend their last first-round pick on Kenneth Grant, a defensive tackle. They paid Zach Sealer a ton of money. He's a defensive tackle as well. I think we're going to go with Arvell Reese from Ohio State, a guy that has really, really helped out his stock this year. And Miami just kind of needs more help off the edge. They just traded Jalen Phillips. Bradley Chubb, he's not going to be on the team next year. He's owed, I think, like over $20 million. He's not going to be getting that from the Dolphins next year. So there's a lot of holes on that defensive line. And now the Giants at number 5, I think Jordan Tyson, maybe even Caleb Downs again is in play here. We're going to go with Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, and I don't love having receivers go top 5 because, again, the value just really isn't there. And Tyson does have some injury concerns. It's like every year of his college career, he's had some sort of ailment that has made him either miss some time or just not be 100%. But when he's on the field, he's a really good all-around receiver. He's great after the catch. He's got strong hands, can go up and make contested catches. The Giants have been in the wide receiver market. There was rumors maybe they could go after Jalen Waddle. I think just pairing another young receiver with Malik Neighbors, who is now off a major knee injury, could really help the development of their young quarterback in Jackson Dart, who's actually looked really good as a rookie. So we're going to have Jordan Tyson go there, and Jackson Dart gets another weapon to help him out on the offensive side of the ball. Now the Browns at number 6, another team I could see potentially going quarterback, but they did just spend 2 of their picks last year on Shedeur Sanders, on Dylan Gabriel. I don't think either of them is going to be the long-term answer there, but could we see the Browns kind of punt on quarterback again and wait till 2027, which all signs are pointing for it being a better class? I think that's probably what's going to happen if the Browns are picking number 6 overall and they're out of range for the 2 top quarterbacks in this draft. So I think they could go BPA, and we're going to have Caleb Downs out of Ohio State staying in the state and joining the Browns and kind of remaking their secondary and just bringing another blue chipper to that side of the ball, helping out Myles Garrett, who's crashed out already a couple times this year. But the Raiders at number 7, I think they would be pretty happy to take Ty Simpson here from Alabama. Brady's now in the building. He's kind of scouting out and looking for their next quarterback. I thought maybe last year they could have went in on Shedeur Sanders because him and Brady have a relationship, but clearly that did not happen. Geno Smith has been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league this year. I don't think the Raiders want to play him much longer. He's getting up there in age. They just need a new signal caller to kind of help their new regime and new rebuild. And I think Simpson makes a lot of sense. He's just a great leader. He can be the face of the franchise and just be a good representation of the Raiders. I don't think, again, he's the most talented guy in the world. Like, he has decent mobility and his arm is solid. I wouldn't say it's great. Like, he can make some throws outside of the numbers. He can drive the football, but he doesn't have like a Herbert arm, a Josh Allen arm, like one of the stronger ones in the league. It's just a fine, solid arm. And he's a little undersized at 6'2". So he just doesn't really have a lot of the physical characteristics as some of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. But for the Raiders, you just want somebody that can be good and functionable, run your offense effectively. Ty Simpson, he can do that. Now the Bengals at 8, I'm going to go Peter Woods from Clemson here. I think this would be a great fit. They just need more defensive talent on their team. I mean, they have had one of the worst defenses in NFL history for really the last 2 years. I don't know if you guys watched their game against the Chicago Bears this past Sunday, but it was an embarrassment. They couldn't tackle anybody. They have really no team speed or physicality on that side of the ball. It's really, really ugly. And I think getting Peter Woods, who again has shown flashes of being a blue chip type of player, I think it would be a great find at number 8. They really just have to get any talent they can. They could use help in the secondary. They could use some help at linebacker. But I think the best player here would be Peter Woods. We're going to have him end up in Cincinnati. And now the Washington Commanders with the 9th overall pick, another team that could go so many different directions, but I think the defensive side of the ball is probably their biggest need. Jermon McCoy from Tennessee, I like this fit a lot. He hasn't played this year due to injury. There has been some talk. Could that potentially have him fall out of the first round or be a late first round pick? But that is up in the air a little bit because he was so good last year when he played for Tennessee. He looked like a blue chip, maybe generational type of corner, like he was that good. I think Washington could be a team willing to just take a flyer on the talent that they saw. They traded a decent haul to get Marshawn Lattimore. He just hurt his knee. He might maybe not play for the team next year. Now the Ravens at 10, I don't expect them to be in this range coming into the season. I think they're about to go on a massive run. But if they are picking number 10 overall, I think somebody like TJ Parker makes a lot of sense. They've been trying to kind of improve and hunker down their pass rush, their defensive line the last couple of years. Like they've had Kyle Van Noy, like their leading sacker. I know they spent, I think, a 3rd round pick on Mike Green, and he's been okay, but they're still looking for kind of their true alpha on the defensive line. And Parker, if they're in range, has again shown the flashes of being a really good player potentially at the next level. Now the Rams at number 11, could this be a sneaky quarterback spot? Maybe. I think they would probably use their 2nd first round pick for that instead of just using the 11th overall pick on one of these guys that probably shouldn't go in this range. But offensive line makes sense as well. I'm going to go Mansour Delane from LSU, a guy that's really rose up boards by playing fantastic ball for one of the best defenses, at least early on, one of the best defenses in the country. He's pretty much a prototypical corner, over 6 feet, around 200 pounds. Pretty good athlete as well. I think the Rams, one of the biggest missing links on their entire team is their secondary. Could limit their ceiling this year. We'll have to wait and find out. But I think if they're in this position, they're going to spend one of their top picks on a corner. Now the Arizona Cardinals, a team that's probably going to move off of Kyler Murray this offseason. Maybe another sneaky quarterback spot. Again, I can't get there with any of these prospects right now. So I'm going to have Mekhi Lemon stay on the West Coast and join Marvin Harrison Jr. in the receiver room. The Cardinals on defense are pretty good. When they're healthy, they have a lot of good players on that unit. I don't know if they would desperately need to spend another top pick to help out that side of the ball. Offensive line is another thing they could really address. Maybe Spencer Fanu here could go. Bulaga from Miami, 2 pretty decent options that the Cardinals could look with the 12th overall pick. But let's be fun here and have them go with Lemon from USC. I've seen a lot of people compare him to like Jackson Smith and Jigba, where he's a little bit smaller. He's not a great athlete, but he just gets open and he produces. And those types of players, you just want on your team. And so the Cardinals, they kind of have their big-bodied jump ball 50-50 guy down the field, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Lemon could be their intermediate, tough over the middle of the field type of receiver. Could be a good fit in Arizona, although we don't really know who would be throwing him the football. The Texans at 13, one of the easier picks in the entire draft. Spencer Fanu from Utah. They just need all the help on the offensive line that they can get. It's been an atrocious unit for 2 years, and we've really seen it kind of derail their season now 2 years in a row. Fanu's a guy that was really hyped up prior to the start of the season. I think I had him when I did my very early mock, going like inside the top 10 or top 5. He hasn't been as good this year for Utah from all accounts, but he's still viewed, albeit in a weaker tackle class, as the best one. And again, the Texans, they need a replacement for Laramie Tunsil, who they traded away. They have to protect CJ Stroud if they're going to get anywhere. So Fanu makes a lot of sense here. Now the Cowboys at 14, they did just trade for Quinnen Williams. Does that maybe impact their need with their first round pick? Potentially. And you know what? Just for fun, we're going to have them select Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, who I think is the best running back in this draft. I think arguably a better prospect than even Ashton Genty was last year. Just a very explosive player, so hard to bring down. A great receiver out of the backfield as well. Could be another great weapon for Dak Prescott. Pair that with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and Jake Ferguson. That's pretty disgusting. Now the Vikings at 15, I think Francis Mwaga from Miami is what I'm going to have be the selection here. They really just got to find, is JJ McCarthy their franchise quarterback? And you can't really do that when he's constantly getting hurt, but also the offensive line is like a revolving door and they can't protect whoever's starting up front. I mean, they basically got like Carson Wentz killed when he had to play for them. I know they had a lot of injuries on the offensive line, but that's kind of what happens when you pay older players and have them start for you. they begin to break down. So I think getting a player that can have the flexibility to play tackle or guard makes a lot of sense to spend a first-round pick on the trenches again. The Carolina Panthers at pick number 16, it's got to be defense for me. I'm going to go Avion Terrell from Clemson. They have J.C. Horn, who's one of the best corners in the league, but outside of him, that's about it. They need some more juice in the back end of their defense. I would actually say that unit's been better this year than I thought. I think Avero, their defensive coordinator, has done a really good job, but they spent a lot of picks last year, albeit like in day 2 and 3 on their defensive line. I just think we could see them invest again on another corner and just try to have a nice duo for the next handful of years with J.C. Horn and Terrell. He is the brother of A.J. Terrell, the corner for the Falcons. He is also a little bit undersized, but kind of just a flat-out dog, can make some plays in the back end. Would be a fun duo for the Panthers. Now, 17, the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to have Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon go here. And if this happens, you've got to be very scared for the rest of the NFL. I mean, very scared. He's an elite blocker. He's great after the catch, very sure-handed, and would be the perfect replacement for Travis Kelce. I don't think the Chiefs will be picking in this range. I expect them to make the playoffs, probably win a game or two again to make the AFC Championship game at the very least. But Sadiq could be one of the better pure players in this draft. I was trying to find maybe a different team to take him, but I just really couldn't find one, especially as we get towards the end of this first round. I mean, all of these teams either have a good tight end or a player that's been really producing a lot for them this season. I think the most logical sense here would be have the Chiefs get another weapon for Mahomes and make that offense practically unstoppable. The Bears at 18, Keldrick Folk from Auburn, a guy that is just a massive human being, could potentially have the flexibility to play inside for the Bears, also just provide some more pass rush juice. Their big flaw in their team is their pass rush. They have Montez Sweat, and that's about it. They need some more help on that side of the ball. I know they've had some injuries in their secondary, but they do need more resources on that defensive line, and I think Falk here could end up being a really good pick for them down the road. The Browns at 19, I'm going to have Carnell Tate, another Buckeye, go to the Browns. I mentioned this on social media, and people were like, Tate is not falling to number 19. And maybe that can be true, and Tate can fight to be the second receiver off the board. I do think Tyson has kind of locked up that label of being the best receiver in this class. But I really just like the fit here in Cleveland because they need a wide receiver one, more weapons on the outside. They love their Ohio State players as well. They've drafted a lot in recent years. But Quinshawn Judkins, Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, Harold Fannin, you add in Carnell Tate there, you've got a pretty good infrastructure for your next young quarterback. Now, the Steelers at 20, I do think they could use some more juice on the outside at receiver. I do think Aaron Rodgers will be back for another season next year. So why don't we go Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M? This guy's an explosive athlete. If you get the ball into his hands, has fantastic agility, has had multiple punt returns this year, go for touchdowns. He's just a really good player, really good athlete, and kind of what the Steelers are missing. They have their alpha wide receiver one and DK Metcalf to kind of be their jump ball physical receiver, but they need somebody you can throw the ball to and watch them juke out 5 players for a 10, 15-yard gain, and that's Casey Concepcion. The Lions at 21, I think we kind of know at this point their philosophy of just very physical offensive and defensive linemen. So Caleb Banks from Florida, I'm going to have him go here to Detroit. They've had so many injuries on their defensive line and their secondary in recent years. I just don't think they can go wrong spending more resources to just add some more depth and good players, and that's pretty much what Banks is. He's a massive human, over 6'6", 330 pounds, can just kind of be a space heater on the interior of their defensive line, and that really could help Aiden Hutchinson, who's one of the best pass rushers in the entire league. So I like this fit in Detroit. And now the Los Angeles Chargers at 22, I think another team where you kind of understand their philosophy and what they're trying to do. Jim Harbaugh is a massive believer in the trenches, and particularly the offensive line. So Penn State, they have this guard. I'm not going to pretend to say his name because it's just very challenging to pronounce. But Penn State has not had a lot of bright spots this year. But this guard, this offensive lineman, he's been one of the few. And so for the Chargers, they lost Joe Alt. They lost Rashawn Slater. They lost Mekhi Becton for some games. They just need more resources and more players on their offensive line. Even Zion Johnson hasn't been really what he was touted to be when they drafted him in the first round a few years ago. So I think getting back those 2 healthy tackles, adding in maybe the top guard in the draft, the Chargers offensive line could become, I mean, I think it heading into the season was already viewed as one of the best in the league, but if they're fully healthy, like a really, really elite offensive line in front of Justin Herbert. Now the 49ers at 23, Let's go David Bailey from Texas Tech. He's another guy that's really rose up draft board since the beginning of the season. Not the biggest guy in the world, around 250 pounds, but he's very explosive off the edge. You have now a major injury concern with Nick Bosa, who has now torn his ACL twice. They even had Michael Williams, their rookie first-round pick this past year, tear his ACL. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable what the 49ers deal with year in and year out when it comes to injuries. So I think doubling down back-to-back years on some defensive line help. We know Kyle Shanahan really values that position. And so again, the 49ers go out and get maybe a Swiss Army knife and somebody that can bring a lot of juice to opposing quarterbacks. Now the Cowboys at 24, they need some more pass rushing help. I think Cassius Howell from Texas A&M makes a lot of sense to just keep him in the state. Obviously, they let go of Micah Parsons. They spent some of their day 2 picks this past season on some developmental players like Ezuraku, for example. But Howell is similar to Parsons in terms of his build. He's like 6'2", 240, 250 pounds, like kind of undersized, may not be great in the run game, but what he's going to provide is just an absolute force off the edge, super relentless going after the quarterback. But now you have Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark. Up in the middle, you should be pretty good against the run now. I think it's really just about getting somebody to replace the sack production of Micah Parsons, and somebody like Howell can definitely help you there. The Bills at 25, I'm going to have kind of an off-the-grain pick here with Chris Bell from Louisville. I think one of the bigger limiting factors on this Bills team this year is their wide receiver core and not having a true deep threat for Josh Allen. Their passing attack has become very dink and dunk, relying on James Cook a lot, which is good, but you still have Josh Allen, who is one of the best arms we've ever seen. I do think it's fair to want to bring back some of the vertical passing attack as well, but they need some help with that personnel because right now they don't really have that type of receiver, and Chris Bell can get deep. That is one of his biggest strengths. He can track the football really well, make some contested catches. He's got good size, over 6'2", and also after the catch, he's really effective as well. So I think the Bills, they've been kind of looking around and trying to hit a home run with a receiver, whether that's like Joshua Palmer or Curtis Samuel, just getting some of these lower tier veterans and trying to make it work. They spent an early second round pick on Keon Coleman, which really hasn't gone well. I think this could be like a last resort type of move from Brandon Beane and just try and get a physical freak into that receiver room and give Josh Allen really his first real wide receiver one since Stephon Diggs a couple years ago. Now, Seattle at pick number 26, we're going to go Connor Lew from Auburn. Seattle's been one of the more surprising teams in the league this year. I thought they were going to be good in a playoff team, but not as good as they've shown so far. Their defense has been tremendous. Sam Darnold has really resurrected his career. Last year, we saw them spend their first-round pick on Gray Zabel. He's been great, and they don't really do that a ton. Like John Schneider, he does not love investing early picks in the offensive line. But after seeing the success of Zabel, I wonder now if he'd kind of come back to that and try and hit another home run with Lew here from Auburn, who many see as the best center in this draft. Now the Rams at 27, we're going to go Caden Proctor from Alabama. He is just a tremendous athlete. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it. Sometimes Alabama has him like go out wide and run like a screen pass, or they even had him, I think, line up under center before and like do a quarterback draw. Like he's a really good athlete for his size. He does need some refinement with his technique and making sure his hand placement is in the right place at times against some good pass rushers. But the Rams are going to need a starting tackle fairly soon. I trust Sean McVay to kind of develop him and get the most out of him. And he just simply has traits that you can't teach. So I think here at the end of the first round, it's worth taking a flyer on him. For the Broncos at 28, we're going to go LT Overton from Alabama. John Franklin Myers is set to become a free agent in the offseason, so they could be looking to replace him on their defensive line. They've had one of the best defenses in the league for the last couple of years. They're going to want to continue to replenish that talent, make sure their defense stays up to pace and continues to be one of the best in the league. And Overton just has a very similar play style to John Franklin Myers, kind of a similar build as well, over 6'5", close to that 280-pound range. And the Bucks at 29, this has been another very popular pick. Sonny Styles from Ohio State. He's been, for my money, the best off-ball linebacker in the country. Levante David getting up there in age. I feel like in recent years, I've kind of mocked or had the Buccaneers take a linebacker. I think this year, if they're picking towards the end of the first round just like this, and Styles is still here because the linebacking position doesn't really have great value in terms of just high assets, I think this could be a great fit in Todd Bowles' defense and maybe a really good replacement for Levante David in a year or two. The Patriots at 30, we're going to go Denzel Boston from Washington. Kind of funny, he's got Boston as his last name. Fits really well with the Patriots. But they need a wide receiver one for Drake May. They've kind of gotten by this season with Kayshon Boutte, Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, just some solid players, but nothing really special. If they want to see May continue to develop and take even that next level, maybe into the elite category, I think getting a physical freak like Boston, who's over 6'4", can be a great deep threat down the field, would be very beneficial to their offense attack moving forward. The Eagles at 31, we know Howie Roseman, he loves investing in the defensive line. Romello Height from Texas Tech, I think makes a lot of sense here. They traded for Jalen Phillips at the deadline. Who knows if they're going to bring him back on a long-term deal, but they even had to get Brandon Graham out of retirement to help out the Reds unit because it's been pretty bad this season. They lost Josh Sweat, they lost Milton Williams. They just need to add some more resources to kind of replenish that unit. And I think Romello Height, again, makes a lot of sense at the end of the first round. And the Jets here with the final pick in the first round, I think they really need help in their secondary now. Obviously, trading away Sauce Gardner, but that wasn't the only trades they made. They got rid of a couple other players in the back end of their defense. They need to replenish the talent there. I think Colton Hood from Tennessee makes a lot of sense. He's going to be my pick. But here's a look at my first 2026 NFL mock draft. I think it turned out pretty well. We had some fun picks like Jeremiah Love going to the Dallas Cowboys. I think it did a fairly good job spreading out these quarterbacks and having them go to smart situations and not kind of overdrafting some of these guys. But let me know in the comment section below. Do you like who I have your team selecting? Why or why not? I would love to hear your input down below. But subscribe to the channel if you are new. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.